Jordy.
Jordy. I'm a pig and my name's Gordy. Do you remember that movie?
No.
Remember there was
yeah.
Babe, and then there was 2 days later there was a movie Gordy, and it was another talking pig. What was that?
Not like with ants and Bugs Life.
Yeah,
Mine
that was
films.
weird too. But at least they had, I don't know. Even a talking pig is more specific.
Yeah, but speaking of movies, what's the movie you were most disappointed for, but ended up being the most disappointed, but were most excited for?
I can't. What
What movie disappointed you that you were stoked for?
that I was excited for, but it ended up being disappointing.
Yeah.
The ratio of excitement to disappointment is the most, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think for most of the planet, it was Star Wars Episode 1, right? I mean, I feel like that's like the benchmark for like, oh my God, there's a new Star Wars movie to like what we got.
I ate it up when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I fucking lapped that movie up.
I just mean in general. Yeah, I'm not picking that as mine.
Yeah.
Because, I remember being disappointed by it, but I remember leaving that movie thinking episode 1 of any series is disappointing. Like,
Really?
Honestly, most of my favorite shows or most of my whatever, I find that the first one is like, it's like you watch the early Wonder Years episodes and they're not as good as like what came later. And so I thought of it the same way. When it ended, I was like, that was disappointing, but that's how it starts.
I was so
That's how it started.
nerd cucked at the time. I read the novelization of Phantom Menace before the movie came out. I went into the movie
I read it later.
knowing what the story was going to be.
Yeah.
And I was just happy to see it on screen.
Yeah.
I was like, there's Quato. Oh, he's not what I thought he'd look like in the book.
Yeah. I mean, I still saw it like 5 times.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not.
did too.
I'm not saying I was too good for it. It was more Star Wars. I was
Darth
still
Maul
into that.
Was cool to me. The end battle, like I didn't love that movie, but I was so stoked to have new Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I ate that up.
Yeah.
I was like, what? When did that movie come out?
99.
99? Yeah, I was like a freshman in high school. I was like 14 years old.
Yeah.
It like hit my sweet spot.
Yeah.
I was stoked on it.
Yeah. It was still exciting to have new Star Wars, but I was disappointed compared to the other ones.
It honestly wasn't until way later in life that I became more like discerning and jaded with films. After I had seen a lot more films and started seeing like the same type of movie over and over and over again. Then I hit a wall. I was like, holy shit, they make the same movie every fucking year. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
For me, it was Avatar. Just because, like, as a kid, Terminator 2 and Titanic, those are like the best films of all time.
Yeah.
Oh, a new James Cameron movie. This is gonna be fucking awesome. And then I watched it and it was like, oh, this is not for me. And it's this is okay. At the time, I was really disappointed. As I've gotten older, it's like, oh yeah, it just wasn't for me. He made a vanilla film. The world liked it, but it just wasn't for me. But at the time, I was like, oh, I was expecting like a kick-ass action movie, and instead it was like a fairy tale.
For me, I think it was the first Transformers movie. And that was really when big blockbuster movies lost their charm for me.
Because the new generation.
I loved like Pirates of the Caribbean and all that stuff. I even, went into Haunted Mansion. I was like, well, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't as good as Pirates of the Caribbean, but I love Disney stuff. But I was so into Transformers. I wasn't a huge Transformers fan, but I was so down with that movie. And then I watched it and I can't even recall what happens in that movie. I just remember walking out of the theater thinking like, cars looked cool. I don't know.
Yeah, that movie felt like an assault for me because I saw the premiere of that movie.
We saw it together.
Transformers?
Yeah.
No. I maybe later or did I go? Maybe
I
we all
watched Transformers with you in theaters.
Well, there's no way I saw that twice.
I don't know.
But they debuted at Anime Expo in 2008, and I went. I knew people who were already like in line, and they cut me in. And so I was like, yeah, I'll check it out. And there was so much cheering every time somebody transformed. I mean, yeah! That I couldn't hear the movie. And I remember thinking, like, there's nothing happening in this. And it was like a big like moment of disillusion. I was just like, it really was sad. Yeah, I was really bummed out that it played out the way that it did. I remember, I was never that into Transformers, but that movie was so kind of like blasé. I don't know. So, but I wasn't like that wasn't one I was excited for. So I don't, that's not really a great benchmark. I think for me, it was probably. I think for me, as much as I still was into Star Wars, Episode 1 still like coming off of like Return of the Jedi was one of my favorite movies ever, and I still think the drop was maybe the biggest. I don't know, maybe.
Mine's a weird one.
What?
My pick is a weird one. It's Tomorrowland.
Oh.
What was that?
Tomorrowland, the George Clooney.
Oh,
Disney
see,
film.
I enjoyed the shit out of that. Like,
Did you ever follow the ARG?
No.
There's this whole game where you had to go to like Walt Disney's favorite chili spot, chili, and they give you a clue.
Oh no, I didn't.
And this whole storyline that I followed, and I ended up getting a cool little record with Carousel of Progress on it, and it was probably one of the greatest ARGs I've ever followed. You can look it up on InsideTheMagic.com.
Yeah,
and it got me so excited for like a 1960s Disneyland movie, and it just sort of delivered on that. But
yeah, I know a lot of people that with that movie they expected so much of the marketing hinged on the World's Fair in the 1960s and this futuristic Tomorrowland world, and those are barely in the movie. But that was one where even though I was excited because it was like, dude, it was like Damon Lindelof and Brad Bird working on a movie about like future shit.
Retro future.
Even though that was great, I went into that still with low expectation. I was like, hey, this I don't buy it. This is too perfect. I can't. And I ended up really enjoying it. It's not like I'm not going to say that's like a perfect movie, but I really enjoyed it. But but I think I went in with good. I knew going in at like lower year.
I think in 1999 this movie came out, The Thin Red Line.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was billed as like Saving Private Ryan Part 2. Like, if you thought that was good, wait till you see this.
Yeah.
And that was literally I've never seen so many people walk out of a movie theater. One by one. And at first I was like, oh, where's that guy going? You going to the bathroom? That's weird. Oh, he never came back. And then just people were just like every 5 minutes somebody just get up and walk out. And yeah, it was just such a letdown.
Yeah. Well, but sometimes it can. Yeah, obviously, like there's marketing to try to convince you of whatever, but sometimes it can get to the point where you're deceived. What's that?
It was a bad movie, but
I like it, but I know that it's not at all an act like a war. It's like total Malik masturbation art house stuff, which is like I eat up.
I was gonna say because like for me when I saw There Will Be Blood, it was so not what anyone advertised to me. Like everyone kept telling me it was like this fucking psycho guy. Like it was so like not that at all, to the point that when that finished, I felt like ripped off. I was like, what was everyone saying to me? Like, and then I watched it later without that, and it was like, that's a great movie. I didn't like
that movie the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
I didn't like No Country for Old Men the first time I saw it. Those two movies came out the same year, and then upon second viewing, really fell in love with both of those movies. That happens sometimes. Maybe I should go watch The Thin Red Line again, but yeah, that was awful. That was a horrible experience.
Well, thank you for your call, Jordy.
Sorry about the milk call earlier, by the way.
What?
Was that you?
We don't store anything in our heads.
Was that you?
So
yeah,
we don't hold anything against you. Except now. I'm never going to forget Jordy.
Well, forgive him.
I don't forgive it.
I was never into No Country for Old Men either.
It's not your kind of movie.
I'm not into the Coen brothers at all. I really have never really been into them. I don't know what that is.
I think there's a whole genre of movies that are not Rocco movies, and I could list like 10 of them. Movies that are universally loved that I know are not up your alley.
Like what? What comes to mind?
Kill Bill, No Country for Old Men.
Kill Bill I watched again recently. I liked it more. I still don't love it though. Yeah, I just well, you know what? I felt like it was you with Django though, Derek, because like I saw Django Unchained within the last couple of years, and I liked it. But I remember you saying like you watched all those Django movies, and it's like, what is this shit? You know, whatever. And I feel like that's me with Kill Bill. I'm like, I know what you're like kind of spoofing, and like not. I'm good. My cup is filled with that. You know what I mean? Is how I felt about it.
I feel like
anyway.
Movies that kind of center around violence, around like shitty people. Yeah. Anti-hero films, like serious ones. I just don't think it's like gonna be your kind of film. Like crime movies.
Yeah, no, that is my least favorite. When solving a crime, like Zodiac type shit, I'm like,
or movies that just follow
don't.
criminals. I just find that,
more darker stuff in general.
Yeah, I just don't think you like darker films.
You know what? It's not even that it's dark. You know what? I think that it's that I just don't buy it. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to use a weird comparison, but like The Sopranos is such a fantastic show to me because it's about some episodes of that show are about the darkest subject matters you can think of. And yet the show is still funny. But it's not a funny show. Do you know what I mean? It's not a comedy show. But that's what life is dark shit juxtaposed against comedy. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I think some movies go about it in a way that I'm just like, shut up. You know, like I don't buy it in that way. I don't know how else to describe that.
Sopranos definitely has, especially in the first episode, comedic moments.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
Sure. And I'm not saying everything needs to have that.
Yeah, Tony in first, he's like, I had to go settle a debt with my friend, and then it hard cuts to him like hitting a guy with a car.
But to that point, even David Chase has talked about that first episode, how he hates it.
Really?
Yeah, because he says that's hacky and like cutting in the middle of conversation. Oh, I had to pay him a visit, and then cutting to he's like, that was like wacky, and I didn't want to do that. Yeah. I don't feel like later episodes are at that level. I'm comparing it to later ones.
Despite that, I do feel like in movies I would recommend to you, there has to be an element of wackiness to it. I do think you look for that in the stuff that you enjoy.
I don't know.
That's not an insult. That's just my perception of you. I like stuff that is decidedly not wacky.
Yeah.
But I do like dark stuff.
Yeah.
As long as it's interesting.
I think what it is for me though, that's interesting though. I've always perceived things better. How do I say this? When it walks that line, Sopranos always walked that line to me, and that's why I loved it. But I've always, like Twin Peaks is like the new Twin Peaks. I'm only talking about the newer ones. Were so great to me because some of the effects and shit happening in it, or just some of the events in it were so like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like, what is David Lynch like? Why is he doing this? And it would be so like laughable, but at the same time they'd be conveying this horrific thing. And I think I like stuff that walks that line better. It's not like, oh, it's got to be funny. It's more about walking that line of like, do I laugh or feel dread? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if that makes any more sense, but you're onto it in one way or another.
Yeah, I think maybe, there's certain movies that I would say are even slightly like a little bit mean-spirited, if that makes sense. Like you could tell kind of the person making this is kind of like angry at the world.
Yeah,
I feel like those are the kind of movies that you don't really like.
Yeah, outright misery for just that. I'm like, I don't.
Because Coen's are all of their films are about existentialism and kind of with this comedy, they're laughing at it, but still just this like inherent, like it's the same thing, like this like Jewish brand of comedy with it too, that like is just so dry and painful and miserable, but it's a release of it. That's all Coen's, and that's why I fucking love it. So, yeah. But have you seen Raising Arizona?
No.
I feel like that's the one that Rocco would like, because that is like.
I disagree. I think you hate
really.
That movie.
I feel like it has enough '90s wackadoo. Even David Lynch, it's just kind of a little bonkers.
Yeah.
I think you might like Raising Arizona.
That's my least favorite. I hate Raising Arizona,
then
and I don't think Rocco would like.
But I remember Low Tax back in the day was like, what the fuck? You'd love that. And I was like, really?
Might be the
you
one.
should watch it.
Because he said the same thing. He wasn't in their other stuff, but he loved that.
I don't know. Maybe.
I'll give it a shot.
You might like that one.
I don't think a movie like Romper Stomper. You're not gonna like.
American History.
I don't know. Have you seen?
I love American History X though. I think that's a great movie. So I don't know. But even that, you know what it is though? For me, I just want to feel like I'm really connecting to the human experience, and I do that through humor. American History X, yeah, I'm not gonna say that's a funny movie, but I feel the human experience there. I feel that regardless of it, I don't know. Some things I do, some things I don't.
Like there's this film Man Bites Dog. I love that movie. Yeah. I do not think you would like that movie.
Yeah.
And there are parts of it that kind of have some comedy to it, but there are parts that are so dark and miserable, like murder scenes that are really kind of unenjoyable to watch. I think that you would just be like, fuck this shit. Like, why am I watching this?
Yeah.
But that's a movie I would, those are the types of movies I think are in the not Rocco's category.
Yeah.
Not Rocco's bag category. I have movies, Tomorrowland. You like that movie? I'm probably not going to enjoy that movie. I think.
Yeah, I was actually going to, but you didn't see it though,
no,
right?
I didn't see
that. That movie though, I do enjoy it, but that movie is like kind of like 6 open. Did you ever see it, Frank? Yeah, it's kind of like 6 opening acts. It really is kind of like every part of the movie feels like, okay, are we starting the movie? We're starting the movie. Oh, it's over. But I still enjoyed it for its subject.
That's what, my thing is I just don't generally like big studio films that are made for everyone. I like very divisive shit. I like something specific. But the one sequence that blew me away is that long sequence where the girl is like in the future doing it, and the card cuts to her in the lake. I thought that sequence was so fucking cool because it's a sequence shot.
And
I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, movie could have used more of that definitely, but I still enjoyed it. But I'm trying to think of movies that are I can think of a class of movie that Derek doesn't like that I love, which is when a movie how do I say it? Like movies that honestly, like cheesy movies, I guess. Like movies that there's a brand of movie that for me, how do I say this? When a movie misses the mark, it sucks. When a movie misses the mark so much, it's incredible. I love it. Like, why does this exist? I am a fan of the Why Does This Exist movie. And Derek is like, no, why the fuck does it exist? Fuck this. Like Halloween 3. Halloween 3, why was that made? Why the fuck was that made? And Derek and I can agree, why was that made? But it is so off the mark that I really enjoy it. And then, Derek brought it in, but like, fuck this piece of shit. So, that's something I like and it would never, Derek
again, I like The Room.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you do.
You know what? I mean, I was just so spent on it for a long time, but no, I do. I mean, that's up my alley, definitely.
Halloween 3 is just a bad movie. It's just bad all around bad.
Yeah, but I love it. I do love it.
Redeeming qualities of that film are.
It's just so off the mark. I don't know.
It's like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 movie without the jokes.
Yeah, well,
without anybody riffing on it.
But you know what? But in my mind, it's perpetually funny. So I don't need them.
It's supposed to be a horror film.
I know, but you know what? But here's the thing. That's another thing is I'm not a big horror guy. So watching this movie that doesn't play by any of the rules of horror. Probably not in a good way. I enjoy it. A woman is staying in the room next to it. What's in this mask? And she fucks around with the chip inside the mask. And it fries her face. And there's no more to that sequence. Who was that character? I don't know.
Dude,
but
that
why?
is a perfect example. How could a fucking computer chip fry a girl's face?
But exactly.
Michael Myers stabs people. I get the motivation of the horror.
But
that could fucking happen. Somebody could show up and kill you. That's scary.
Right,
I'm not gonna die from a computer chip and a fucking mask. What is this movie?
But that's what I enjoy about it. Is it's just it's so quirky. Every horror movie would have the guy stabbing somebody, but I've just seen that, and I don't feel threatened by that. I don't feel threatened by fucking around with a computer chip and it fries your face. But at least there's something there that's like. What is this movie doing? Yeah. And I enjoy that experience. Yeah. I'm not saying it's a good movie.
To me, a good horror movie should make you kind of think about what if this happened in my own life? Holy shit.
Yeah,
that would suck.
Realistically, the function of horror is to make you rethink.
Yeah, like if I found myself in this situation,
yeah,
I would be so miserable and devastated.
Yeah. And I get that, but that's just I've always been on the other end of that, which is like, so show me something that makes me question it in a different way, I guess.
And all those movies that you don't like that I do, stuff like Fargo, stuff like No Country for Old Men, it is people who are in situations that are hard to navigate.
Yeah.
And that is why I'm drawn to them. Because it is a shitty no-win situation. And I feel like I can watch people go through that and be right there along with the ride. And if it's realistic, I love it. Because then I feel like, oh, this is like, this is what you would actually do if you found yourself in this situation. This is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
But I feel like you are just like, I don't want to be in this situation. I don't want to live this situation. I don't want to experience this.
Well, you know what? If it's something, I think I relate to stuff more in metaphor, if that makes any sense. Like again, I used like the new Twin Peaks that came out was fucking surreal. And yet I find things more relatable through that. I feel more emotional connection to things in an abstract way than I do with, we got to find this killer. We've got to find, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's just personal. I've always connected more, I think, to things in a like, what the fuck sort of way rather than a like, dude, this is good fucking drama kind of, you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, I'm not going to say I'm right, but that's just how,
and I think
I've always been.
Yeah, realizing this is why I hate like superhero movies and all that shit, because it's so unrelatable.
Yeah,
to me,
sure.
Who the fuck gives a shit if you can fly around and you're impervious to pain? Like, who relates to this shit?
Yeah.
This doesn't convey anything. There's no lessons to be learned here. Nobody's ever going to be in this situation where you're on another planet, forced to fight in an arena against these crazy creatures.
But that is why, I mean, and I enjoy those now and then. By and large, I agree, but that was what, but every now and then something comes along, and that's why I liked like the Christopher Nolan Batman movies.
I love those too.
Yeah, because they followed rules, and they
those have an element of,
but there's heightened too, but it's
when they call those movies gritty, I think what they mean to say is they have an element of this can happen in reality. And even Batman is fantastic. I don't mind stuff being fantastic.
Yeah, they don't have to be,
but it starts
this needs to be realistic. I don't want that.
It starts with a bank robbery, and they show you, like, okay, they're scoping it out. Okay, they're disabling the alarms. Yeah. Okay, they're going in there with the guns. All right, they're forcing everybody down, like, step by step. They're doing a real robbery. Batman shows up later. It's like, okay, well, there's no real Batman in real life, but conceivably there could be if there was a guy who had that much money.
Well, I think
really had the conviction to do it.
You brought up the Aquaman thing earlier, and I brought this up before, I think, but James Cameron talked about, they were like, what do you think of Aquaman? Like, you've done movies in the water before, what do you think about Aquaman? And he's like, I'm not even going to diss the movie, but my criticism of it is that there are no rules. Once that guy goes underwater, he's going 1,000 miles an hour. Now he's got fucking dolphin guns, and now he's, he didn't say, James Cameron didn't say all this, but he said once he went underwater, all bets were off, and there was and he's like, I don't think you shouldn't do spectacular things underwater, but if I was doing it, it follows a hard set of rules just so that you know what can and cannot work, and that adds to the tension of the, and that's, I totally understood that. I was like, yes.
Yeah, totally.
And that's Batman. Batman should not be, well, it needs to be realistic. This should be the real world. I don't think that. But those Nolan movies follow rules, and that's what makes the tension to me really. And that's not to say I didn't. Hey, I enjoyed the last Avengers movie. It was like, but it's like watching fucking Dragon Ball Z. It's whatever. And I enjoyed it, but that's what I like is the.
It's like when you read fan fiction written by like a teenager. It's the main motivation is, wouldn't it be cool if this happened? And that's why it does happen, because it's the wouldn't this be cool factor. It's like, well. It would be cool if this was like kind of built up properly, if there was some structure to this and some foundation that made some sense. But a lot of that gets skipped over just for the end product of, then the cool thing happened. Well, you didn't really earn it.
Sure. But anyway.
All right.
Well, that was we went on
deep
quite
conversation.
The tear there. Wish the other guys could have heard that.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Jerking
it.
Seriously,
where the fuck do they have to go? Come on.